Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I'm your host, DBJ, and we are going to finish this week out, maybe a little bit next week, um, using world building techniques off of real historical events based on the foundation of the United States. And we're not going to pick anything very recent, but little bits and facets and intricate things about how the United States has developed, I think really can kind of give us a yeah. Hey, Caligulus. It is definitely hump day. It is Wednesday, and we're going to focus today on the gold rush. I know my thumbnails are a little bit, they're pretty booty, but rest assured they are about the gold rush, California gold rush, maybe a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about the Klondike gold rush, but there are a number of events. Um, uh, if we lace them together about the development of the United States. Now, of course, we know historically that that everyone during that particular events in history are the good guys, but they tend to be the bad guys, the villains in other people's story. The United States is no stranger to these events, but what we're going to do is use that for our creative fuel. We gotta top off our fuel tank with something like that, and so. But let's get on the same page, shall we? I'm not going to use this voice the entire time, but sometimes you got to use a little old man's voice for the old whippersnappers. The old gold rush back in 1848 to 1855. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole thing like that, um, but here's some historical context to the gold rush. Okay, so from 1848 to 1855 was a gold rush that began in January 24, when gold was found by someone named James W. Marshall at Sutter's Mill in Coloma, California. So, right off the bat, for our role playing experience, someplace in your world, someone discovers something of value. Now, of course, we really don't need to change it from gold, right? I mean, whether it's gold or gemstones, silver, copper mines, or I don't know, the creation of Electrum or whatever in your fantasy role playing game. Uh, and we can go for other things like jade or amethyst or something of that nature. Someone, you don't have to give them a name, but it make it a little bit more poignant if you give them a name, found something, and then news of it spreads. So the news of gold brought approximately 300,000 people to California from the rest of the United States and abroad. The sudden influx of gold into the money supply reinvigorated the American economy. The sudden population increase allowed California to go rapidly to statehood in the Compromise of 1850. The gold rush had severe effects on native Californians and accelerated the Native American population's decline from disease, starvation, and a California genocide. So, absolutely, you know, if you have, we understand in fantasy that huge populations are actually pretty rare. Um, Hundreds and thousands of people gathering together is usually a pretty. It's not a very common event when you have 300,000 people moving into a region where the resources are limited, and the people that live there, tribal and nomadic as they may be, all those resources separate. And then, of course, when you get a mixing of different cultures and things, you bring along like disease, and so disease, famine, and those kind of things spreading in your world. We You could absolutely put in the background, and if you want to add a little fantasy twist to it, you absolutely can. The effects of the gold rush were substantial. Whole indigenous societies were attacked and pushed off their lands by the gold seekers called 49ers, referring to 1849, the peak year for gold rush immigration. Outside of California, the first to arrive were from Oregon, the Sandwich Islands, Hawaii, and Latin America in late 1848. Of the approximately 300,000 people who came to California, I love you too, producer. I love you too. Came to California during the gold rush. About half arrived by sea, half came overland on the California Trail and the Gila River Trail. 49ers often faced substantial hardships on the trip. Uh, Another aspect of just traveling from one place to another, you guys know the travel log, the trek itself, to me is a dungeon. It just doesn't have a roof on it. And there, despite having not having walls or corridors, uh, nature itself becomes those things. A raging river on one side, tall mountains on the other side are basically walls to me. And you can design a traveling adventure just like you would a dungeon. Just uh, remove the context of moving 30 feet, and using 10-foot poles. Instead, it would just be a point crawl, if you will. But anyway, while most of the newly arrived were Americans, the gold rush attracted thousands from Latin America, Europe, Australia, and China. Agriculture and ranching expanded throughout the state to meet the needs of the settlers. San Francisco grew from a small settlement of about 200 residents in 1846 to a boom town of about 36,000 by 1852. So that's only 6 years. I don't know what the percentage of growth from 200 to 36,000 would be, but that's huge. Roads, churches, schools, and other towns were built throughout California. In 1849, the state constitution was written. The new constitution was adapted by referendum, and in September 1850, California became a state. Here's some more important information, then we'll get into what our co-hosts have to say. At the beginning of the gold rush, there was no law regarding property rights in the gold fields, and a system of staking claims was developed. Prospectors retrieved the gold from streams and riverbeds using simple techniques such as panning. Although mining caused environmental harm, more sophisticated methods of gold recovery were developed and later adopted around the world. New methods of transportation developed as steamships came into regular service. And by 1869, railroads were built from California to the eastern United States. At its peak, technological advances reached a point where significant financing was required, increasing the proportion of gold companies to individual miners. Gold worth tens of billions of today's US dollars was recovered, which led to great wealth for a few, though many who participated in the California gold rush earned little more than they had started with. And we don't want a little bit on that. I try not to do that too often, but what I love about the concept of the gold rush is that everything from hearing about the rumor and player characters and of course the NPCs in your world moving towards those rumors, arriving in a place that is lawless, unfounded, no industry. Essentially, everyone is bootstrapping themselves, coming up with how we're going to live and how are you going to find this gold, and wheeling and dealing with people who basically there's no law. I mean, you could stake a claim on something, but really it's just your word. So how do you defend or protect or hold on to your claim where you think your gold is going to be? And then, of course, you have all the other things. You have the intimidation and the bribery and the backstabbing. You have the Oregon Trail style just travel log of going through harsh seasons, uh, dangerous terrain, people in the that live in the outback of your world who might not like all these people traveling, or you've got your banditry taking advantage of people traveling to a place and stuff like that. So yeah, I love it. Let's see. Shai says, was there ever a space gold rush in Obsidian Star, like an asteroid harvesting rush? Yes. Yes. As a matter of fact, in side note, Obsidian Stars, tabletop role playing game, going developing it. Yes, the development of space elevators and the orbital ring and the asteroid belt is exactly how the solar system got populated, because it was constantly a new air quotes gold rush, but it was for but it was like instead of using gold, it was like you could stake a claim on an asteroid and mine it for like platinum and silver and even radioactive elements and things like that. So yes, there absolutely was a gold rush in Obsidian Star. That's how humanity left Earth. That's my reasoning for humanity leaving Earth and spreading out into the wild, not the Wild West, but the equivalent of the Wild West. Shai says, how about an iron rush? Hell yeah, yeah. Because the ancient Vikings hardly even had enough iron to make anything. So maybe they have to go on a big quest for a trivial amount of iron just to make axe heads. See, I love stuff like that because it, first of all, um, you basically have a built-in MacGuffin, a quest mechanism, if you will, right? I understand the word MacGuffin. It can be a little bit tongue in cheek, right? Because a MacGuffin, true MacGuffin, doesn't really affect the story because it doesn't matter what it is. In this case, a resource that you need does affect something, and so a lack of a really basic resource like wood, iron, um, uh, coal. I'm trying to think of some other things. Hell, even just even your classic silver, copper, gold would make people have to travel. Because I mean, iron is, if you when you need sharp implements to have some kind of reasonable advanced civilization, you're going to need it, even if it's just small amounts. And you're basically become the god king or god queen if you're the one who's got like the iron axe or the iron sword or blade when everyone else is walking around with sharpened stone and wood, right? Just like Bronze Age, once they figured out how to make bronze, then all the other communities that didn't have access to bronze at the time, again using just bone and obsidian and sharpened sticks and just blunt rocks, they had a severe disadvantage. It says, okay, I got it. An asteroid crashes to Earth in your fantasy world, and it's full of precious metals. So everybody rushes to it, starting a big orc, dwarf, human, elf war, and everyone massacres each other. Yeah, could be. Now, and this depends on how you perceive it, right? So the gold rush wasn't a governmentally funded endeavor. It could very well have been, but it doesn't. It comes across as very individualistic, right? So there might have been like mercantile businesses that were involved in it, or straight up criminals with a lot of muscle that were trying to muscle people. They've got 35 people that they have out there digging for gold because they know they're going to keep it because they've got big sticks and big forearms to beat people about the head and shoulders. But uh, for your post-apocalyptic world, iodine rush. Hey, yeah, you want to? Hey, you don't want to have those weird mutations and kids coming out with 3 heads and 18 toes. It's your iodine rush. Yeah. The post to Oppenheimer world. Yeah. Caligula says, how about a gold rush to find a new singer? You need to find enough gold to bribe somebody to sing for you? Mm, little ishish, but remember, the only reason to get the gold is for its value, right? And so it's not the gold itself, it's the value of the thing to get it. So everybody wants it, or at least they want to be able to control access to the thing. And so having claim staking, set, a lot of times this was very much another FOMO thing where the rumor of finding gold in them there hills was more valuable than actually finding the gold in the first place. So when 300,000 people, worked their way across the entire United States to try to get to this gold in California, it was because of rumors. They didn't know, they just heard stories. And sure, there were a few people who were able to find gold. And like it said, in today's world, it was tens of billions of dollars worth of it, but they said the vast majority of people really didn't benefit from it. They much like the erroneous idea of people who think that they're going to sell drugs and become multimillionaires and retire in Miami or something, or Cuba or whatever. The vast majority of people didn't really make any money, and even the gold that they did find was like probably barely paid for the amount of time, energy, and effort and resources they put into finding it in the first place. So Yeah, a lot of it was just rumor milling, and so many people. If you've ever watched the television show Deadwood, which I couldn't remember before, yeah, price gouging rush, hell yeah. um, the uh, that's how do you think that's how real estate works, right? Everyone believes that's the place where you need to be, so the prices rise, and then prices rising make other people want to invest in a place where prices are continuing to rise, which makes other people believe that that's the place you need to be, and then you have this cycle, right? And nowadays we know that there's so many major cities that most of us really can't afford to live in. And then the people that are there are starting to wake up and going, yeah, I can't even afford to live here. And I have a digital job. I don't even need to live here any longer. And then, so then prices start to plummet. Shai says, you rush to stake your claim to start a party store in the gold rush town so you can charge everybody $50 for a bag of chips. That's a real thing. They actually did that in the Deadwood show, where a guy was like, he got there and opened up a store that sold nothing but like a backpack with like a shovel and panning stuff and everything, and basically price gouged people who wanted to go for gold. He wasn't digging for gold. He was just selling supplies for people who wanted to dig for gold. Yeah, Rush to be the first bar band in a gold rush town. Hell yeah. Hey, after all that 18 hours of panning for gold, nighttime comes. Guess what? You need some entertainment, some music, some uh, some libations, some liquids to lubricate the old mind and body and such. So yeah, a lot of that stuff, would crop up in and around these locations. Especially, like I said, the banditry would be big. Mercenaries, hey, pay us enough money. We'll it's the extortion racket, right? Pay us enough money and we'll protect your claim to the gold. And you're like, well, I staked the claim already. And they're like, no, you didn't. Because I got like 12 buddies with like huge shoulders, big biceps, and big old sticks. You might want to pay us so that you don't get hurt, right? Um, that's been a big mob extortion thing, right? You pay us to protect your store or your business, and it's like, well, why should I protect it? They destroy your business, right? Um, yeah, I'm late for the very important date. Yeah, you're missing out on the gold. Now, excuse me. The other thing is, what is the value of the gold or resource in your world in the first place? Why is it so special? Is it something, I'm going to use the word mundane? Gold, silver, gemstones, the jade, the amethyst, the rose quartz or something, diamonds or something. Is it like that, or is it something a little bit more arcane? Are they the proverbial mage stones, or dragon hearts, or ancient pearls, or whatever? I don't know. Is it something like that, if it's harnessed, it has some kind of greater effect in the world? Maybe pushed by magi or clerics or something like that. Um, what are the rumors even true about what's up in them there hills, right? Are there monsters, beasts up there that it's so dangerous to get to that you kind of need an adventuring party to get to the resource in the first place? Um, uh, what about the native people that already live there? Do they use and harness this material? Do they not even know what it is, or is it not even valuable in their eyes? We go to our dangerous druidic circle type of individuals who are like, yeah, we know it's here, but leave it in the ground. And does it even need to be mined out the ground? Now we're talking about the gold rush, and we will be talking about gold, coal, oil, the railroads, and all that kind of stuff. But also, what might be kind of cool in this gold rush idea is that day by day, hour by hour, the community and the rush of people, it's changing everything. So if the player stands still, it's a perfect excuse for, guess what? You stand still, but the world's going to be moving around you, and so towns start popping up. Competing versions of what law enforcement would be would arrive. Different types of criminality would rise, get crushed, absorbed, built again. Heck, even some of those dangerous beasts out there in the fantasy wild might themselves have to flee or get pushed out of their community, um, pushed down into another community, so that the player characters are besieged by beasts and things because they've been pushed out, and now there's another community that lives there. I mean, it would make a lot of sense to have like a twist, right? Like the goblinoid hordes get kicked out of their community because the humans have moved in, and the humans are brutal to the goblinoid hordes, and the goblinoids are like, we've lived there for generations, like you don't belong up in here, you know. Yeah, Shai says, what is the value of gold in our world? It is ductile, does not tarnish, can be used to coat all kinds of lesser metals, and has electrical applications. But is that all that makes it so valuable? Right. Is there a social connotation to it? Like the tulip mania I mentioned before. Simply having it, does it does simply having it garner you a level of higher status in society, just by having access to the thing before you even spend it? We know that the more money you have, the less you have to spend for things, because people will open up doors for you knowing that you have money. Whereas people who don't have money, can get questioned about things. Um, this is a different subject, but back when I don't know, I was maybe between 8 to 10 years old, myself and my family, we went to Detroit and went to the Chrysler Building. They had a restaurant in it, and they refused to serve us because they didn't believe we could afford the meal that was there, despite the fact that we traveled from Philadelphia to get there, and do other things. But I loved cars and automobiles. I loved the design of it. Anyway, and they didn't serve us because we were black. There was a bunch of other people there. We went to another place and they were happy to have us. It was pretty frustrating. We should have sued them. My aunt was down for that, but we were like, no, let's not do that. Yeah. Anyway, but that is a thing, right? If you don't have the gold, and we're using gold as a uh, placeholder name, if you want, in your fantasy, maybe if you don't have it, you don't get it. You don't get the other things. Shay says, okay, twist on the cliche adventure hook. You meet in a bar in a gold rush town, and then a bunch of bandits burst in. So now it's you versus the whole bandit criminal underground. Hell yeah. Yeah, if you're not with us, you're against us, right? Yeah, and all you're doing is like, I'm just having a drink. Would having gold jewelry or gold trim on your clothing or gold leaf on your food demonstrate more status than silver? No, well, it depends on you don't have to have gold, right? This could be a silver rush, if you will. But we're saying that if you have access to this resource, whether you have it, whether you physically have it or not, whether you give access to it because you're a land baron or something, or whatever. Yeah, it's crazy. When I says, "Oh wow, so sorry you were subject to fucking racism." Yeah, not as much as some would say. Far less as as I've gotten older than in the past. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Hell, I mean, there was one time a friend. I don't know. We were probably 12 or 14 years old, and it was a pastry place in Chestnut Hill, northwest Philadelphia, and they refused to serve us there because they didn't think we could afford it. Never mind the fact that we like saved up our money simply because we heard it was the best place with the best pastries and stuff. But yeah, they refused to serve us there too. Shai says, but you're just a bunch of regular guys in the bar. You're not any kind of warriors. So that gives you extra challenge. You versus the organized crime rush network. Zero level funnel. That would be a good DCC dungeon crawl classic. Zero level funnel, kind of like, hey, guess what? You don't have any special abilities, no class features, if you will. Your most basic D20 fantasy, and then anybody that survives becomes like first level. You're like, yeah, then we're gonna beat ass on a criminal organization. Yes, Zamar says difficulty of obtaining something makes it valuable. Tin used to be far more valuable because it was hard to get, and the in I haven't reinforced the industrialization that came about from the gold rush. Uh, um, Railroads, equipment for mining. In a fantasy realm, you may have like golems and gear forged and airships and whatever. Like, it may not have existed, but the resource may be so hard to get that over time the player characters realize that um every time the player characters come to the table, uh, online or not, to adventure, there's something new and different, and things might be progressing far faster than the PCs even have a chance to understand, which might be kind of cool too, right? Yeah, yeah. They're the bar band singer join the party. Oh yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Zamar says, and by much more value, I mean more valuable than gold. That and of course, you know, what is the value of something? Depends on what society believes it is. You know, I mean, now it could have like like tin and aluminum, iron, and those kinds of ores. Um, Maybe some of those aren't as sexy as gold, but are extremely important as well. I like the idea, like the Viking idea of there's very little iron where we are. We need to go someplace where we've heard rumors where it's at, and then there's an influx of people trying to get it. You know, yeah. When I hear this hypothetical question is all that was. Oh yeah, no. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I think having a red metal would be cool. Ooh, the blood of a it's people think it's the an a red blood red metal that came about from the defeat of a divine entity that died in a galactic uh extraplanar battle or something like that, and their blood spilled across the earth, and this is the metal that comes from it or something like it, which that doesn't even have to be true, right? But the stories behind it might be a thing. uh Clerics having to do with the gold rush because they feel like the gold are the tears of the pure or something like that. You know, there's always rumors, things. When I hear this is I don't like the idea of starting at zero. I respect people have different ideas of fun, but I like the escape into a universe where I have power, glory, and reputation. Yeah, yeah, power fantasies, of course. That's what role playing's about. Matter of fact, one of the first games that really embraced power fantasies to me was back in the 90s with Vampire the Masquerade. It was like, no, you're creating a vampire character, and you're literally more powerful than every mortal in the rest of the world, right? At least the vast majority of them. And even though there's people above you, but yeah, it's like, oh no, you're going to make a character that's a badass. Don't worry about it. Shai says, of course the bandits live in the mountains, and so do the monsters. So now you're a bunch of regular level zero Jerome B's looking for some kind of weapons to fight bandits and mountain monsters. And you need the ore to make the weapons. Yeah, Z says, yeah, the reason why a lot of people like starting at level zero is actually similar. They like the feeling of seeing the underdog gaining power, fame, and wealth. And all that is just it's a modulate the funnel idea. It's just a modulation of what you consider what your success failure rate is and what your reward system is. So, post apocalyptic storylines is your reward system is canned goods. Um, a couple liters of gasoline to go to the next town, finding a firearm with about three shells in it and you're not even sure if they work, right? Whereas more power fantasy things are like John Wick and the movie Perfect Weapon, which happens to be in my mind for some reason so far, and things like that. Oh, so funny. Yeah, you said jabronis and are therefore made of spit, vinegar, and wind. Yeah, yeah. There's a flashback. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, heathen. That's why it's called a funnel. That's why you have like four, five, six characters and you run them through the funnel because you're definitely going to have many of them die. We have to talk about death and dying in tabletop role playing games. It I have a feeling it would take a week, and I don't want to bore people, but I think it's a great. If you think deeply about it, it's a great concept because we really have not solved that issue in tabletop role playing games, and it's weird that we haven't done that. So, okay, I get it. Dead gods rush on the astral plane. You all rush to get the stone body of the petrified dead god to make some special weapon or some shit. Yeah, yeah. Hey. Well, that's a real idea, right? Um, we often have the lone characters our player characters, the handful, right, that go into the deep dungeon to retrieve something. But we don't often see the Indiana Jones excavating for the ancient tomb, where there's like thousands of people also trying to get into you know, dig down into the tomb and crypts and stuff like that. Yeah. Zamars is actually, depending on how you define adventurers, a land right is the gold rush. Yeah, doubly so if you find gold on the land. Yeah, staking claims. There were no laws, so people tried to stake claims on land where the law hasn't even reached them yet, which I think um, reinforcing the lawlessness of the wildness and how you know, I mean, there were people who were trying to sell fake deeds to lands that didn't exist because the law didn't even extend out there at that time, right? It was just people just kept walking till they stopped and then they found gold, right? Yeah. One Eye Heathen says White Wolf games are interesting because you are a badass character, but also bad shit, yeah, is supposed to befall your character. Player characters are having the most unhappy power fantasies. It's true. This is very true. It's like, you're a badass vampire. By the way, you got to follow the rules. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Yep. Ooh, Rogue Trader for Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader. Yeah. Legs for the leg god, skull for the skull throne. So, yeah, so lots of people, I mean, there were charlatans and backstabbers and liars and cheats and things that would claim that they had deeds to land that didn't exist. And then you go there, of course, criminalizing the whole thing. Hey, this is my land, and I'm going to beat ass if you try to take it. Or they would go up to people and say, "Oh, that you think that's your land? It's mine now." You know. And then you have all the other things like water rights, you know. So if your river or stream flowed through somebody else's land and that person would stop up the water so you wouldn't have access to it, and maybe you needed the water to do your panning for gold or silver or gemstones or whatever, all those things. And what I like about world building is trying to find um, the non-combat reason and vector of loss and value and success and that kind of thing. So, for example, sure, fighting goblinoid hordes is fun, and you get to murder kill a bunch of them, and everyone wants to beat each other about the head and shoulders. But why? Maybe it's more important for one side or the other to become king of the hill or um, tear down a dam that's stopping up the water that everyone needs, or finding the charlatan that it keeps trying to sell fake land rights to people, and all it's doing is just creating more chaos as this person is getting money from them. Maybe even trying to stop the price gougers, where people have their eyes are glittering because all they see is gold in them there hills, and the PCs are trying to wake people up and smack them in the face like, "Wake up! This isn't going to work. You have no skill. I'm going to get rich and find a chunk of gold and retire and stuff." And it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. The minute you do that, someone's going to steal it from you and punch you in the face and take it. You know, yeah. Shai says, "Okay, got it. Your prospectors bought property for a claim that didn't even exist, and then you get there and got no land, and you realize you forgot to bring any matches or lighters." Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. You forgot everything, or you didn't have everything, or you didn't know to bring everything. You know. Heathen says, "You're a badass who knows all sorts of secrets, an information broker. Oh, but you are are ugly as sin and can't get a job to save your own life, much less a date. Also, you live in the sewer." Yeah. Talking about the Nosferatu, the Nosferatu. I don't know. I love the original Vampire the Masquerade. It does have its issues gaming wise, like mechanics wise, but I love the original. So now your Gold Rush adventure turns into a quest for fire with some sort of quest for fire. Great movie. Brilliantly adapted movie since it didn't have any English words spoken in it. Anyway, quest for fire with some survival horror when the monsters in the dark show up, or aliens. Ever seen that movie Cowboys versus Aliens? Yeah, I don't know if I'll get that time back, but yeah. Uh, how about a pimp rush to set up the first bordello in Gold Rush Town? Yeah. Oh, with a name like Caligula's Palace Live? Yeah. But very true, right? Um, Hard workers need a place to blow off steam, and having a place of ill repute is tends to be a normal thing that sets up in these border towns. So why wouldn't the players do that? Although most games don't really let you run businesses in a role playing game, but yeah, I'm with you, Heathen. Says, love this prospector idea, but I'm envisioning it as a comedy of errors. Yeah, the players go in with eyes open, and the entire game is just a hilarious farce. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's probably how 300,000 people. I bet the vast majority of those people arrived in California thinking, "Well, I have a backpack and a shovel and a panning thing, and I'm just going to find gold in about a week or so, and I'm done." And that's not how it worked, right? People, they were robbed, and there's disease and famine, and their influence from where they were home doesn't apply out in the wild, no matter how rich or famous they thought they were, or how much influence they had, or how brilliant they were. When they get out here, sometimes a big old fat fist to the face uh is the makes your decisions for you, right? And um the charisma dump stat punishment. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, a mob run Vegas like town would be a fun setting. Yeah, hell yeah. And the thing is, the town could be building up around the player characters, and even they may not even realize it till it's too late. You're like, wait a minute, wasn't didn't you say last session that there were only like a handful of like orcs that were like bullies, but they left us alone because we're badass hero, adventurers? And they're like, oh yeah, I did say that last time. He's like, well, why are you saying there's like 50 of them now? You left town, you came back, there's like 50 now. You're like, really? Are they going to mess with us? Well, it seems like they're eyeing you, but they're going to leave you alone. And you're like, all right, well, no big deal. We're going to leave town and go do our prospecting again. You're like, okay, well, when you next day you wake up, you come back, there's like 150, and you think you see more on the horizon coming into town. And you're like, damn, like every time we leave, something happens. Oh no, it's happening while you're standing right there, right? Yeah, Cowboys versus Ale. I never seen it. I just watched a review video. They said they played it straight instead of making a joke out of it, and that was the fun part of ridiculous idea. And yes, they did. They sure did. They did not make it a joke. It wasn't like a doo 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 doo. Nudge nudge wink wink. It. They didn't play it like that. They played like it was really serious. Yeah, yeah. This really sums it up. One Eye Heathen says, what could possibly go wrong? The mindset of all new gold rushers. Yep. What? I don't understand. I mean, all I wanted to do was make. Anyway, so a lot of those people got out there, and I wonder if you could. How to explain this? You could start your adventuring by using your traditional adventuring tropes, and then start to break those tropes as all your tropish NPCs, monsters, and all that kind of stuff, all those tropish things start getting flipped on their head because all the tropes came out and realized it ain't working the way you want it to. The classic orc horde, maybe they become the law enforcement arm of this place. Maybe the druidic circle that lives out in the wild and see all this rush of people come in, maybe instead of the classic like we're nature preservers and we're going to take everybody out, maybe they start like getting in on the deal. Maybe they're like, well, we're going to let certain people come into our lands for a certain price, and maybe that price is something that's more than just monetary in value or something. You could have, what's something else that could uh, flip on its head? Like, the classic scary Medusa, comes into town and it's like, oh, we're scared. And instead, maybe the Medusa becomes a mob boss. And it's like, yeah, out in the town square, all those stone bodies, those are people who don't, bring me, you owe me a toll, a fee for going out and prospecting on my land. And you're like, you don't own this land. And the Medusa's like, yeah, I do. Just watch me. Yeah, the Druids control the orcs, who are the law enforcement in Gold Rush Town. Why not? Right? I mean, hell yeah. Who's to say? And the mining for this precious material, literally dungeons are being created into the ground as we speak, as the players are doing their thing. So maybe there is a small cave, and then by the end of the week there's 3 rooms, so now there's a 3-room dungeon, right? And then after the end of the month, it's got 17 rooms and a push cart and a place where people are sleeping. And oh, someone set up a trap in the front entrance because they don't want people coming into where they're prospecting, and the PCs are like, who put this trap in the way, right? And then somebody moves in. And I mean, this could be a churn of using the same maps of adventure, where the dungeon keeps changing because every time the player characters leave, more more intruders are moving in or trying to discover something. And listen, you don't have to have gold at the end of the dungeon. If it's gone, all you need is the rumor of gold at the end of the dungeon for the PCs to go, please stop moving. There's nothing here. There's a big sign on the outside that says no gold. And and the arrogant dwarves are like, well, we don't believe that. We can smell it from a mile away. Yeah. Yeah. I saw that. Good at Rust Monsters and Zorns. Yep. We forgot that a lot of people went not to mine for gold, but to sell to those mining for gold, whether it be foods, medicine, services, tools. Um, first of all, yes, plenty of people wanted to have legitimate, if outright, extortionist style prices for goods and services. Hey, you need clothes, you need boots, you need, what are the blacksmiths, weavers, um, uh, surveyors, heck, just guides themselves, language specialists, fixers. Hey, you need strong hands to dig. I know some strong hands. Hey, pay me a little bit and I can hook you up with some honest people that'll help go out there and protect you. You know what I mean? Like there were people who had legitimate jobs. Hey, we do is sell backpacks and shovels, right? Um, what does this say? How about medicinal mold, or mold that causes euphoric effects? You'd have a mold rush. Mold rush. Yeah, yeah, why not? It is a it is a resource, even a natural one. We'll get into that when we talk about lumber, the lumber industry in the setting of the United States. Shai says, "Hey, is there a rust monster for gold, or a Zorn? That's the monster that eats gold anyway, right?" Uh, I, you know what? I don't know. Okay, let me look this up. What do rust monsters eat? Is it A rust monster's diet consists of freshly rusted ferrous metals such as iron, steel, and steel alloys, which it prefers to other metals. Adventurers can take advantage of this by distracting it with suitable throwaway items. And this is on the NetHack wiki. Can a rust monster eat gold? Question. Answer. It prefers ferrous metals, steel or iron, over precious metals such as gold or silver, but will devour the latter if given the opportunity. These creatures have been known to range the length and breadth of an underground complex searching for supplies of metal. Ah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you know what? Actually, you could really um maybe the Druid Circle, or like a criminal organization or law enforcement or something. I could see them using uh, domesticated, air quote, domesticated rust monsters, or Zorns or something, and listen, you need to calm down, because if you don't, I'm gonna send them after you, right? Or maybe that becomes, maybe the gold rush is to extract the resources because they heard of rust monsters and Zorns devouring everything in the first place. Or Let's go back to the beginning. The Viking style, we don't have iron, we can find it someplace else. Maybe it's because the rust monsters have depleted the resources in one region, and now everyone's traveling to the other region to get those resources, because of those issues, right? Yeah, I could see that. I'm trying to see what you guys had to say. NetHack is great. Play it when you have time. It's a game based off the old Rogue game. Oh, I did not know that. It says, okay, you got gold eating rust monsters crossing the country in a herd to descend upon Gold Rush Town. That, yeah, maybe, yeah, why not? Right? Just everyone's looking over their shoulder because one day they'll be here. The proverbial herd of rust monsters migrating across the countryside. Why not? Yeah, since I keep giving you song titles. And the gold miners pay you to stop them. So it's like against the giants, but it's against the gold eating rust monsters. Yeah. Yeah. They're like, hey, everybody, stop the rust monsters and everything. Now, my background is too orange. And I picked the gold one, but it does, it's all whited out. All right, never mind. I'll stick with the gold. I'll stick with the gold. I mean, to stick with the more orange one. But yeah, it does sound ridiculous, but I like it. I kind of like it. I kind of like it. We could also start pulling out of like Zorn's Rust Monsters. We could, because it's so difficult, like Zamara mentioned, like some things are valuable simply because of how difficult it is to obtain that thing. Um, Diamonds come to mind as well. So maybe there's something dangerous, something living, something in the environment, or what have you. It could be like Westeros's Storm's End, right? Like it's nothing but in high peaks with storms, or a place where it's always being hit by tsunami like waves over and over again with high winds and brittle temperatures, very cold temperatures. It could be near some place that's volcanic or prone to landslides or earthquakes. It could be home to oozes and plants and mold and uh, dangerous gases escaping from the ground or crags in the ground. Like you could add that on top of the idea of, hey, we're not just out here extracting gold. We're out here, or whatever resource it is. We also need to be adventurers and explore a region where it's very dangerous. And some of those nasty, um, uh, just how can I say this? The people who are not built for this may get in the way of the player characters in terms of being built for this. So zero level human beings could sell information on the black market about, oh yeah, we saw a dwarf and a tiefling and a dragonborn up in the mountains. I think those are adventurers, and we can tell you where they're at. Oh, I saw them pull a big chunk of gold out of the ground. It was as big as a fist. And selling that information, or hell, maybe even refugees that are like, hey, we spent our entire life savings to get out here, and it's not working. Can you help us out, please? Could you help our community out? And the PCs, if they have a heart, might be like, okay, we'll give you some food or some rations. But then all of a sudden, now they're being followed by sycophantic individuals like, please help us. They're so great. They're badasses, and we're just zero level. I mean, of course, they wouldn't say that, but yeah. It'll be a long time in the making. Dozens of other projects line up, but I got the idea file now. Mold rush for cordyceps zombie mushrooms. Yep. You could actually have a gold fever sort of spell or disease, like a curse that is put on the greedy. One of the concepts from the original Hobbit, right? The Arkenstone and the dragon's gold was basically a um, it caused a level of greed in people. So yeah, it could very much be like the gold rush is a greed that has totally encapsulate people's minds to make them become this way. And that might be the player characters are like, oh, no big deal. Well, it's just a gold rush. I mean, we'll go out there, sure, we'll follow the caravan, but people are heading out there and they don't think anything of it. And then after a while, player characters are badasses, so maybe they don't make saving throws, but they see the people around them, that zero level mom and her daughter, that, maybe the mom 2 hit points, the daughter, basically zero stats across the board. Now, a couple of weeks later, the mom has like is like the strength of an ogre or something, and the daughter is like, I don't know, it's something like it could be a fever that's not just a curse, but also a mutation of sorts, that the greed takes over, and the greed makes them uh it makes them what's his name, not Schmaug, the Hobbit, Precious, Gollum, like Gollum, yeah, makes them Gollum like. Zugmoy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know there's a slime stage of the fungi life cycle. Didn't think mold was, but fungi zombies are cool. I think it's Zugmoy. Who is the who okay, which what is the name of the mold? Is it a demon? And from I think it's Zugmoy. Zugtamoy, Zuggtmoy, the demon queen of fungi, lady of rot and decay. Zugtamoy is an alien creature whose only desire is to infect the living with spores, transforming them into her mindless servants and eventually into decomposing hosts for the mushrooms, molds, and other fungi that she spawns. Yeah. Yeah. Amazon.com? What? Oh, it's a it's a figure, Zugtamoy figure. How much is it? $65. Okay. So what would be pretty nasty if oh you're right there, TA. What would be incredible even more nasty would be that extracting this resource is releasing something dangerous into the fantasy realm. Poison gas, oozes, fungi, insectoid monsters, um, disruptions of magic, diseases, undead, whatever, right? You can come up with one or more or stack things that extracting this resource, whether it causes a greed or people just want the resource to survive, but extracting the resource is causing even more harm somewhere else. It could be causing natural disasters like earthquakes, like fracking or whatever, right? And everyone's just like, please stop doing that. But yeah, it mm, 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 mm. Monster stolen from Delicious in Dungeon, an anime soon to come out. You find gemstones and gold lying on the floor. The gemstones have a pleasant goldish sheen to it. Yeah. You drag it out of the cave you found it in alongside the gold you recently mined. You sleep for the night and wake up to find that your gold has halved in weight, though your number of shining gemstones have doubled. Oh no, tripled. You throw what's left in the bank, the town's gold with the town's gold. Yeah, within a week, you find out that you accidentally brought in infected gold, rust monsters, which eat gold and lay eggs in the shape of gemstones to spread their prodigy to new food sources. I love that. I love that so much. It's like, yeah, you thought so, but wait, what? Why? What? Someone stole my gold. No, no, no. They were gemstone rust monsters hatching. And then the Zorns go after the rust monsters because they like to eat their eggs. Jubilex, yeah. I know I'm spelling it wrong. That Forgotten Realms death deity that has her fungi that makes zombies lives in the abyss on Jubilex level. Spelled that wrong too. No, 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 yeah, yeah. Jubilex, Zogtamoy. There's O blocks Bob, O blocks Ob, something like that. There's another one. There's also I can't remember. It's it it's pronounced like a sneeze. It's like I can't remember. It's a long name. I can't think of it. And I can't even think of the demon lord, but it's like something like that. Oh, TA says sad thing too, because there's an immense amount of gold in our rivers here, but teaches what quantity and quality is. Yeah. Yep. Mm-mm-mm. The gold is so small particle and hard to extract and concentrate. It makes thousands of dollars worth of gold only worth 30 or so dollars. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Diseases, pollution, negative energy, shadow energy could escape. Yeah. 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 All those kind of things, extracting it out, which there may be no right or wrong answer to this, right? Humanity needs this resource. Forget the deep, forget the negative portions of this. Maybe there's a resource that people really need, but extracting that resource causes other issues. So, do you try to stop people from extracting the resource and just live knowing that they're never able to advance, or um, extract the resource and then find out a way to solve the other issue of the side effect of creating the negative part of mining? So I don't know. One thing about gold mining and refining is it's done with mercury, so you can see all the harm caused by extensive gold mining. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And hell, that's after what is it like mercury use and uh, of course clearing out the land, strip mining, um, poisoning water tables, things like that. What a cool idea! Gemstone egg rust monsters, love it. I didn't think about that, but I love that idea too. Me too. When it's found out, there will be those who rush to pull out their gold to be placed someplace safer, spreading the infected gold with their greed. Yeah. Oh shit, I love it. And then the PC start walking around as like um soapbox preachers telling people not to value their gold. The sci-fi rust monster would be that silicone life form from the original Star Trek that Spock had to mind meld with. It was making tunnels. The miners were finding eggs thinking it was just minerals. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I love it. I love it. Jubilex. I used her as an emergent minor deity of family trying to supplant Hestia. Oh, yeah, Hestia. Players ran into her because one of them was a worship of Hestia. That's cool. Caligula says perfume racket in Gold Rush Town because the miners stink so bad and you need magic bowl to make the perfume. Hell's yes. Yeah. Heck, hey, just having a business where people can wash up is in and of itself a thing, right? So yeah, I mean, listen, at the bordellos, that's what they used to do, right? They get some drink, some liquid libation to lubricate the mind and body. They get to wash up in a tub or something, maybe wash up once a week or so, and let their heads held down. They had a kid with them that just lost her family and was passed out due to boiling water burns. Ooh, the kid woke up when they encountered her. Wow, wow. I like that. I like that. The story behind that. Speaking of that, I wonder what kind of damage to a rust monster mercury would cause, since mercury can dissolve metals, even gold and aluminum. I don't. Hmm. Would have to. You would have to think it. So, could a rust monster eat the mercury? It is a metal, or is it dangerous to them? So I could see mercury doing to a rust monster what a tub full of hydrochloric acid to a human body. Right. I mean that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. I don't believe there's an answer to that. I think you make up the answer that you want. That's a good enough to me. That's a good enough answer that you would have. Although fantasy doesn't really talk about mercury as much, like our real human based metals and things of that nature. But okay, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. We've got to we got to have a cut to this at some point. And I'm taking too much of your time, going an hour 15, hour 20. Can't do that. So your time is very valuable, and I thank you very much for spending it here. Um, Hopefully, in some way, shape, or form, we can make change for your tabletop role playing experiences, and get some value out of it. Also, we're going to continue about using. Listen, we're going to go into the railroads and coal industry and lumber industry, and even the industry of hunting for pelts and things like that. I don't know, and we're focusing here on the states because, well, the majority of us live here. But for those who are overseas or across the pond, feel free to make fun of us as the as we stumble and fall and succeed and fail and stand back up again in the settling of the United States and using that as our tabletop role playing fuel. Says, thank you there very much there. Just thanks for another great broadcast. Well, thank you. You fail to realize that the only reason these broadcasts are great is because you guys are here. You bring your A game, even if you got to wake up hella early if you're here in the States, right? So thank you very much, Heathen. Thank you for giving us your wisdom with your one eye and your ravens and your eight-legged horse. I appreciate that. We all do. Remember, love with your heart, and for all else, mind books for your TTRPG ideas. It's the modern day creative gold rush. Da-dum. Yeah. Did I pronounce it right? Da-dum. Catablipus pelt rush. Catablipus cataplebus pelt rushing. Yeah. And listen, we'll do the pelt rushing tomorrow, but how do we get past the murder slaying of innocent animals, but still make it a thing player characters will want to do? So we're going to have to do that. When I hear this, I love the Odin jokes. Oh no! Remember, Odin did sacrifice himself on the world tree at some point in the mythology. So don't get too happy about that. It might be a couple thousand years from now, but whatever. Killius says, "Real fun topic today." Yeah. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I will tell the kitty. Where's she at? She usually sits right next to me, or sits. Anyway, we'll find her. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. And of course, Friday we're going to get into some other things. Well, Friday we'll probably talk about it'll be Obsidian Star, but we'll talk character advancement and things like that. I have a unique method of character advancement, and I'd like to explain it to you guys. That probably is only going to take about 10 minutes, and then we'll talk about some other things. So, guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility.